Every spring, gardeners across the world haul bags of fertilizer home, pour chemicals into soil that grows poorer each season, and drag hoses across wilting beds while drought tightens its grip on entire regions. Yet deep in the forests of Central Europe, trees fall, rot where they lie, and feed the next generation of growth without a single human hand. The forest never runs out of water. The forest never runs out of food. So why are we ignoring the one system that has worked without fail for 10,000 years? The answer is buried in your own backyard, and most people will never find it. Marcus Gustafsson did not arrive at his method through books or university lectures. He arrived at it through desperation. In the early 1990s in southern Sweden, his small market garden was losing the battle. 3 dry summers in a row had cracked his soil into plates. His courgettes shriveled before they could set fruit. His water costs had doubled and his yields had halved. He watched his neighbors install expensive drip irrigation systems they could barely afford. He watched others abandon their plots entirely. Gustafsson did something different. He walked into the forest behind his house and stared at a fallen oak that had been rotting in the shade for 6 years. The ground around it was dark, loose, and damp even in the middle of August. He pressed his hand into the earth beside the log and pulled it back wet. That was the moment everything changed. Within a season, he had buried 3 of those oak logs beneath his vegetable beds. He layered branches on top, then grass clippings, then a thick cap of soil. His neighbors watched and said nothing. By the second summer, when the rest of the village was rationing water, Gustafsson's beds were producing as if it had rained every week. His tomatoes were so heavy the stakes bent. He had not run a hose over those beds in 8 weeks. What the rotting wood was doing beneath the surface was something modern gardening had completely forgotten how to explain. Stand at the edge of a garden built on buried wood in mid-July, and the first thing you notice is the smell. Not the dry dust smell of struggling soil. Something richer. Something that belongs in an old forest after rain. The surface may be warm to the touch, even dusty on top. But push your fingers down through the mulch and within a few inches the temperature drops and the soil comes away damp on your hands. That dampness does not come from a pipe or a tap. It rises slowly from below, from logs that have been holding last winter's rain like a sealed tank, releasing it upward through the roots of everything planted above. The beds that sit on this foundation do not look dramatic. Squash vines sprawl across them. Bean poles lean at gentle angles. Strawberry runners creep toward the edges. But the yields from these beds have a habit of silencing skeptics. Gardeners report harvesting twice the volume of tomatoes from buried wood beds compared to identical plots beside them, fed on bagged compost and regular irrigation. The soil does not compact in the same way. It does not crust. After 3 years, it becomes something closer to forest floor than garden bed. Dark, open, alive with movement. The physics behind this is not complicated, though it was largely ignored for most of the 20th century. Wood is built from lignin and cellulose, a structure of hollow cells, tubes, and fibers stacked together with extraordinary precision. When a log begins to decay, fungi break into those cells and hollow them further. What was once dense and structural becomes increasingly porous. A piece of pine that has been rotting for 4 years can absorb more than 4 times its dry weight in water. A piece of oak, slower to break down, holds that moisture longer and releases it more gradually. The log becomes a reservoir that does not evaporate, does not drain away, and does not need to be refilled until the next rain comes to do it naturally. In controlled trials measuring soil moisture inside buried wood beds versus conventional raised beds on the same site, the buried wood beds consistently tested 35 to 55% higher in moisture content during dry periods. That is not a marginal difference. That is the difference between a crop that survives and a crop that fails. Roots grow toward the buried wood the way a hand reaches toward water in the dark. They find it, wrap around it, and draw from it through the hottest weeks of the year. The water is only part of the story. The other half happens more slowly and is even more valuable. As the wood breaks down, it does not simply disappear. It is transformed, first by fungi, then by bacteria, then by the earthworms that move through the softening fibers, consuming and depositing as they go. Every stage of that process releases something into the surrounding soil. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium. Not in a single flush that burns roots and then vanishes, the way synthetic fertilizer does, but in a trickle that matches the pace at which plants can actually use it. A hardwood log buried today will still be releasing nutrients into the soil 15 years from now. That is 15 years of feeding your garden without buying a single bag of anything. The heat released by decomposition is a bonus that most people never consider until they feel it for themselves. Press a thermometer into a fresh hugel mound in early March, and the reading will surprise you. While the air above is still cold enough for frost, the soil around the decaying wood can run 3 to 5 degrees warmer than the surrounding ground. That warmth is not passive. It pushes seeds into germination weeks ahead of schedule. It shields tender roots from late frosts that flatten every uncovered bed in the neighborhood. It extends the productive season at both ends, giving gardeners in colder climates crops they were told they could never grow. For centuries, this knowledge was practiced quietly across Central and Eastern Europe. Slavic farmers built what they called raised beds from fallen wood and forest debris, a tradition that required no manual and no training because the forest itself was the instruction. Those farmers grew food through long winters and dry summers without irrigation wells or imported fertility. Then the machines came. After the Second World War, the push to mechanize agriculture reshaped every field in the Western world. Flat land was what tractors needed, so flat land was what farmers made. Mounds were leveled, logs were burned. The practice was erased not because it had been tested and found wanting, but because it was inconvenient to a steel plow. What was lost with those mounds was not just technique. It was decades of stored water and stored fertility that would have gone on giving had the machines never arrived. The method for building one of these beds is straightforward, but the order of layers matters and the mistakes are easy to make. Begin with the largest, most decomposed logs available. Oak, ash, maple, and beech are the preferred choices because they break down slowly and hold structure for years. Avoid walnut at all costs. Its roots and wood carry compounds that actively suppress plant growth, and burying it will poison the bed from the inside. Treated timber carries chemicals that accumulate in the soil and eventually move into the food. Neither belongs anywhere near a vegetable garden. Lay the logs directly on the ground, no digging required. Fill every gap between them with smaller branches, then with twigs, then with whatever leaf litter is available. The next layer is the one most beginners skip, and the skipping of it is the reason their first bed disappoints them. Fresh green material. Grass clippings, kitchen scraps, fresh weeds pulled before they seed, or a bucket of manure. This layer is not optional. Decomposing wood is carbon-rich and nitrogen-hungry. If you deny it nitrogen, the microbes driving the breakdown will pull it from your plants instead, and within weeks the leaves will yellow and the growth will stall. Add the green layer generously, then cap the entire structure with at least a foot of topsoil and a thick layer of mulch on top. Water it thoroughly for the first season. After that, the structure takes over. A semi-retired electrician in Yorkshire built his first bed 3 years ago using elm logs from a tree that had come down in a storm. He spent one afternoon on the construction. He used no irrigation at all through the following 2 summers and pulled more runner beans from that single bed than from the rest of his allotment combined. He describes the soil now as feeling different, heavier, and alive, in a way that the neighboring plots do not. He has since built 4 more beds and is planning 2 additional ones along the fence line. Not everyone finds it simple at the start. A gardener in Glasgow made the mistake of using fresh-cut softwood without adding any nitrogen layer. By midsummer, the bed was a disappointment, pale plants barely holding on. She dug in a layer of well-rotted manure, watered it in, and watched the transformation unfold over the following 3 weeks. The microbes had what they needed, and the plants responded almost immediately. Her lesson is the most common one. The wood alone is not enough. The biology that does the work must be fed first. The branches that most people are stacking into piles and setting alight this weekend represent years of free water and free fertility. Every log added to a fire is a reservoir that will never fill. Every branch burned is a season of slow-release nutrients gone in an hour. The soil in most gardens is not poor because the land is poor. It is poor because we keep removing what the land needs and replacing it with substitutes that wash away or run out. Burying the wood is not a difficult idea. It is a patient one. The ground takes time to reward it. But the reward does not stop. The question is not whether it works. The question is how long you are willing to keep doing things the hard way. Leave your thoughts in the comments below.